Course XW2040, External Wiring of the IBM 7500XHV and 10000XHV Uninterruptable Power Supplies. This module describes the external electrical services that can be used to power these UPSs, basic input power and output power configuration, and the correct single-phase and three-phase wiring connections. The IBM 7500XHV and 10000XHV UPS power inputs are hardwire-only connections. There are two supported input wiring types: 5-wire three-phase input and 3-wire single-phase input. Connection to a three-phase input supports 220, 230, and 240 volt output operation. Connection to a single-phase input supports 200, 208 volt, or 220, 230, 240 volt output operation. All wiring must be performed by a qualified electrician. 5-wire three-phase wiring connects the L1, L2, L3 neutral and ground wires from the distribution panel to the input terminal block of the UPS. The external circuit breaker in the distribution panel will typically be a 4-pole 50 amp or a 4-pole 63 amp breaker, depending on the UPS output rating and the local electrical codes in force. 3-wire single-phase wiring connects the two supply wires and ground wire from the distribution panel to the L1, N, and ground inputs, respectively, of the UPS input terminal block. The external circuit breaker in the distribution panel will typically be a 2-pole 50 amp or a 2-pole 63 amp breaker, depending on the UPS output rating and the local electrical codes in force. 4-wire single-phase wiring is not supported by the 7500XHV or the 10000XHV. 4-wire single-phase wiring consists of 2 supply wires, a neutral wire, and a ground wire. A 4-wire single-phase run will need to be rewired as a 3-wire single-phase connection by removing the neutral connection run from the distribution panel to properly connect the UPS. As a general rule, typical electrical standard color codes are as follows. Ground wires are green, 3-phase neutral wires are blue or red, and single-phase neutral wires are typically white. Supply wires are colored other than the ground or neutral colors of the appropriate phase. Check with the local electrical codes in force to determine proper color coding. To connect to a 3-phase or single-phase electrical input, switch the external distribution circuit breaker to off. Locate the UPS power supply circuit breaker and the utility circuit breakers on the rear panel and switch them to off. Remove the access panel. Remove the circular knockouts on the access panel. Run the input wires through the access panel to the input terminal block. Affix the appropriate strain relief to the wire at the access panel opening. Connect the ground wire to the input ground block first. If wiring to a 3-phase supply, connect the L1, L2, L3, and neutral wires to the input terminal blocks at the indicated points. Set the phase selector switch next to the terminal block to 3. If wiring to a single-phase supply, connect one supply wire to the L1 terminal block and the other supply wire to the N or neutral terminal block. Set the phase selector switch next to the terminal block to 1. Do not connect any AC input wires to the output terminal block, as this will damage the UPS. The output terminal block has labels L1A, N1, and ground. Replace the access panel. Switch the external distribution panel circuit breaker on, and then the UPS power supply circuit breakers and utility circuit breakers to on, and check the line voltages. Press the on button on the UPS front panel to turn the UPS on. The online LED will begin flashing, indicating the unit is executing its self-test. When the online LED stops flashing, self-test is complete. Any internal errors will be reported by lighting the fault LED. If the AC input wiring has been done incorrectly or the phase selector switch is set incorrectly, the unit will light the on battery LED and provide 4 short beeps. Turn the unit off and recheck the AC input wiring and phase selector switch. For further information concerning installation and operation of model type 2130 UPSs, refer to the 7500XHV and 10000XHV UPS Operation and Installation Guide and Service Bulletin Number MIGR-60255, available on the external IBM support site. Additional troubleshooting information can also be found internally on the glossy wiki from the PDMAP section under Uninterruptable Power Supplies.